When you are the older person or person of higher status in a relationship and you make a mistake that impacts others, what do you do? In some cultural contexts, the standard expectation is for you to simply ignore the issue. It's assumed that apologizing will cause you to lose authority or to lose face or to look weak. But the way of God's reconciling kingdom culture is to confess our wrongs, no matter our age and no matter how high our position is. What might this look and sound like? Hi, I'm Dr. Jolene Kinzer, and I'm so glad you're here. Today we are continuing in Chapter 7 of Changing Normal, and we're looking at how to navigate the challenge of apologizing from above. To understand how this works in real life, I invite you to consider the story of a 70-year-old church pianist, Jolene. She got upset at a significantly younger man at church, a brother who was 50 years old, because he had not provided her with a copy of the music score in the time frame that she needed. It was a relatively small matter, but the tension had the potential to damage their relationship. So Jolene decided to initiate an apology. Recognizing her anger, she said to him, "My attitude wasn't very good that day. Because you didn't give the music to me, I got angry. But I hope that in the future, if something like this happens again, if someone needs something urgently like this, that you can get what is needed for the person. I also wasn't right in how I behaved." At the time, the younger man ignored her apology. But a few days later, he smiled and treated her just as he always had, demonstrating that he had in fact received her apology, and things were right between them again. I deeply respect Jolene for her humility and for her sincere heart. In a culture where the senior person is not expected to apologize, she chose to proactively reconcile. But if we look closely at her apology, we can see two components that, while very tempting to include in our apologies, are better left out: explanation and blame. Did you hear either of these the first time around? She said, "Because you didn't give the music to me, I got angry." And then she gave him a brief lecture about what he should do in the future. When we apologize, it is really important to avoid blaming the other person for our behavior. We must take full ownership for our reactions. So here is how I would suggest revising Jolene's apology. It's just one way. "My attitude wasn't very good that day. I wasn't right in how I behaved toward you. I'm sorry for getting so upset and saying that you don't consider other people's needs when you didn't provide the music within my time frame. You have provided the piano music on time in the past, and I know you care about us." Do you hear the difference? The excuses and the finger pointing are gone. In it, she leaves out any implied accusations and she takes full ownership of her behavior. Now, you might be wondering, but Jolene, what about my actual needs? How do we fix the original problem? Well, the key is to separate the apology from the problem solving. So during the apology, you focus solely on owning your wrong behavior. Then, in a separate follow-up conversation, you can explain your needs and problem solve. For example, Jolene could follow up later by saying, "Hey, can we take a minute to talk about the timing for giving the music to the pianist? When I got upset the other day, it was because I felt embarrassed to play poorly in front of everyone, and I didn't want to be a distraction. Because I need to practice ahead of time, I really need to get the music at least 1 week in advance. Is that possible? Are there any challenges for you that make that difficult? Is there any way I can help? I really appreciate all your efforts." By doing this, she invites him into a collaborative discovery of solution instead of lecturing him during her own moment of confession apology. Setting aside face to apologize to someone younger or to someone of lower status takes a lot of spiritual maturity. But Jolene shared that after studying biblical peacemaking and then stepping past the cultural expectations, her heart was so relaxed and she experienced so much joy. She was willing to keep learning and to keep being stretched. Is there a lower status person in your life right now? Maybe a child, a younger colleague, or a volunteer whom you've treated harshly? I encourage you, try offering them a sincere, blame-free apology today. This other person might not respond as you hope, but you won't know until you try. And listen to God to see if there's anything else He would have you do. Entrust the relationship to God and ask God what loving that other person looks like at this point in time. There are a lot of complications when it comes to apologizing. If you're struggling to apologize, ask God what might be causing the blockage. Maybe there's something in your life that needs healing. Maybe the relationship is complicated and something else is needed at this time or is needed first. Reach out to a friend or to a conflict coach to talk through what's going on in your heart. In our next video, we'll look at the 3 stages of maturing, looking at what's motivating our apologies and what areas do we still need to grow in our lives so that our apologies can be true confession apologies and have their full effect. We'll see you next time.